I have just taken delivery of a parcel from Watchfinder. They said I could choose any watch on the website, but which one did I pick? Let's get into it. Yes, and welcome to the Mad Watch Collector Show. Today marks a huge event. Two great powerhouses in the watch community, the Mad Watch Collector channel and Watchfinder, come together to form this big ball of watch stuff. They are the UK's largest seller of second-hand luxury watches. I was given the opportunity to pick any watch I want from the website to review for you guys. Super! How about I get a watch in that I possibly would be able to afford one day, but that watch has been hard to get.
I can see you're beaming with excitement.
So am I, to be fair. Are you Watchfinder ready? Let's go! And so here it is. Look at this beast. The Tudor Black Bay Chrono was released at Watches and Wonders 2021 to mark the 50th anniversary of Tudor's very first chronograph. I know what you're thinking. You know, that don't half look like a Daytona. It's alright, they're related. Obviously, Tudor are owned by Rolex, and you can distinctly see this watch has been heavily inspired by its older references, but maybe a little bit more to the Daytonas of old. But let me show you the very first Tudor chronograph. This one, very 70s, isn't it? To me, it looks like I'm looking straight on
at a Peregrine Falcon.
Anyway, let me show you the Rolex Daytona 6263. Look at this. Magnificent watch. It was only 37mm. That's incredible. But take a good long look at this and then snap. Take a look at this new release. But I have to say, this is a proper watch. It looks and it feels luxury, as well as being a brick house. This is a truly beautiful looking machine. I'm not gonna lie, it is big. When you move the case around and you look at the side of the case that doesn't have the crown and pushers, that is a big slab of polished stainless steel. Obviously, we have to remember that this is a chronograph. They tend to be a bit thicker than dive watches, and this has a very good movement in it I'll talk about later. The pushers are huge. I honestly don't think they could be made any bigger. The crown is gigantic with no crown guard, so very vintage inspired. And yeah, the overall look of the watch, it's very big, but it is very nice. Quick spec check. Okay, so the case is 41mm in diameter. It's 14.2mm thick, 50mm lug to lug, and a lug width of 22mm. We have a boxed sapphire crystal protecting the dial. Again, adds to that vintage look with the screw down pushers and the screw down crown and the screw down case back. This watch has a water resistance of 200 meters, which is 100 meters more than a Daytona. It's an anodized black aluminium insert in that tachymeter, another retro nod like my Black Bay 58. We have the rose logo embossed on the crown. There's satin finishes, beautiful beveling, polished sides of the case, and just what you'd expect when you're paying this sort of money. The bracelet is very similar to my Black Bay 58. If I do compare both bracelets, the 58's lug width is 20, and what with the tapering, the chrono is definitely chunkier, and it's going to give you much more presence on the wrist. We've got the faux rivets as well, which I've said in the past I haven't got a problem with. There is no T-fit clasp on this thing, but definitely a very well made bracelet. Okay, let's look at the face.
Dial time.
Beautiful silver framed applied markers for the hours. Big triangle for 12 o'clock. Printed Tudor logo with the shield. I love the little text of red below the hand stack. The date. Does it need a date there? I guess it keeps the symmetry still. I do love the bi-compact look of this chronograph. We've got the seconds on the left and the minutes on the right. I personally am not sure about the snowflake hands on this chronograph. The snowflake handset was created with the French Marine Nationale for great legibility when diving. This is not a dive watch, and so really it shouldn't be anywhere near this dial. Just stick batons would have been great for me. It would also have helped the legibility when the hour hand goes over one of those sub-dials. Just my preference, but I do love that arrow-tipped chronograph hand to match the text on the dial. Overall though, it's a beautiful dial, and I must say quite high in legibility. So we got lume on the hands, lume on the hour markers. Out of 10, let's see how this puppy glows. And yes, for a chronograph, not bad at all, is it? Super luminova. Because of that upside down triangle at 12, we have very good legibility. Powering this watch, we have an in-house, it's chronometer certified, 70 hours of power reserve, 28,800 beats per hour, and it's actually Breitling's movement. Yes, very surprisingly, I didn't even know about this. Tudor and Breitling have worked together like a couple of mates, exchanging their movements over. So in this watch is a Breitling B01 movement, but with some Tudor modifications. And what Tudor gave to Breitling was the movement inside the Black Bay 58, and they've gone and used it in their Heritage Super Ocean watches. What this has done for both brands is lowered the cost to the consumer, and I just think that's great business. In fact, to buy a Breitling with the B01 movement in it, you're going to be paying at least £2,500 more. So a bit of insider knowledge there. Anyway, to the operating this watch, it does actually feel like the Daytona. This movement is a column wheel chronograph, a proper snap when you engage that chronograph hand. The stop and the reset snap is just awesome. I've never felt a tougher wind in a luxury watch. Very tough. I'm not sure if I'd call it satisfying or buttery smooth. Honestly, built like a tank, this thing. We've got hacking and hand winding in this movement. Pretty cool.
Hello.
On my 6.5-inch wrist, and it looks a bit big, doesn't it, on my wrist? Looks a bit big. Possibly looks a little bit like I'm wearing my dad's watch and I'm 13 or something, you know, and I'm thinking to myself,
Dad, one day I'm going to be able to wear one of these watches.
I think if you have a 7.25-inch wrist and higher, this is going to look very good on your wrist. And the fact that this is a chronograph, so you know it has to be a bit thick, and an automatic one at that, I think people may forgive the size. The Daytona's proportions are probably the most perfect I've ever seen on a chronograph. Diameter, thickness, have they made this slightly over big, so it's not stepping on the toes of its older brother? I do always think that with Tudor. They have characteristics that to us, we think, couldn't they have made this smaller? Couldn't they have moved that there? One thing you're not going to get from Rolex is a vintage looking beast like this. Well, the overall look is very appealing to me. I love a retro inspired watch, taking inspiration from Rolex and Tudor without completely copying. I love the big chunky pushers and the crown. The bi-compacts look is very good for symmetry. The aluminium insert is a great touch, and it just feels like a luxury watch. The overall size for me is too big, and it is too thick for me. I personally think they should get rid of the date window,
As the Daytona has done well without it, hasn't it?
and for me, I only think the Snowflake handset should be on dive watches because it was designed for dive watches, all right? Diving, for diver, for people who are going diving. Yes, it's a signature to Tudor, but it's not right. Brand new, this watch is £4,550. Tudor have just hiked up the prices a little bit recently, but like I said, if you compare it to the Breitling B01, that is at least £2,000 more expensive. With the whole package that you get with Tudor, it's such a good deal still. Now, we are 2 months away from Watches and Wonders. If Tudor releases a chronograph like this, but in a 39mm case,
People will go insane.
there aren't many chronographs out there that give you 200 meters of water resistance. This watch can do anything. I think this is a great watch for the big wristers out there. It feels premium, it feels luxury, you know, unlike the Ranger. Here it is, the wife's thoughts on the Tudor Black Bay Chrono. Yes, I quite like it. It is big, isn't it? That's what she said. I like the dial and I love the overall look. It's nice, but very big. Anyone that has been subscribed for long enough to this channel will realise that that was a top review from the wife. This show could not have been possible without Watchfinder. Thank you so much for sending this watch in for me. What watch shall I ask for next? Stick it in the comments below. If you've watched this far and you want a bit more of the Mad Watch Collector channel, why don't you click here and join? And if I've got you for a few more minutes, why don't you click this show out? Russell, you have outdone yourself again. Is it better than this show? It's hard to say, really, isn't it? I didn't wear this. I wasn't wearing this. This is brand new off the merch website, you know, but still a great show. Go on, click it. Click it. Go on, click it. Click it.